Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back. I forgot to record an intro, so I'm just going to throw this in here real quick so you do not start off on like a time lapse. But anyways, more or less in this video, I'm getting the hood and the hood hinges installed pretty much permanently, and go ahead and work on figuring out how I'm going to get the S550 subframe mounted in the car. I do go ahead and get it in, as well as getting the adjustable suspension that I come up with earlier this year and tested on another car. So without any more, let's get to it. Alright, so I'm working on more or less, I did get the cowl level, and I'm working on now kind of getting the hood latches set up. And what I did is I cut this piece out of the parts car, which ultimately bolts to basically the hood hinges, the hood, not latches, the hinges. So I'm going to come back, cut that out, more or less just keep the hinged part. So, and come back and, make structure around it, for lack of better words, I guess. So what I did to get it lined up is I had the cowl up here, and before I just had like one or two little holes drilled kind of where I thought the cowl should sit. So I actually came back, lined both of these brackets up with its, respective fender holes. Then I made sure the cowl at least lined up with its hole on that, and then I tacked it in. So now I know, and I also took a measurement off the 69 up there, and it's 39.5 inches between the two, which is what I have between these. And I got 4 reference bolts, kind of bolted in. So it's definitely close enough. So I'm about to pull the fenders off, come back, probably weld those in, add a couple more tacks to them. I don't want to weld them in too much in case I need to remove them again, but I did keep all the factory mounting points on those. And after that, I'm going to pull the master cylinder and cut those down to where I need it, and then more or less bolt the the hood latches on, and figure out how I need to box them. But that should, all the measurements wise, that should give me what I need as far as to get this whole front end line. right, so this is kind of the passenger side, more or less, top frame rail, not frame rail, but fender support. The back was eat up real bad, so I remade it best I could. And all that's mainly for is so when it slides under this thing, you know, I have something to weld to. So this will go here, and I'll figure out some kind of supports for that. And more or less kind of box it in. The other side was fine, so I need to get that master cylinder pulled off, and I'm gonna get these kind of tacked in and see where the hood's gonna kind of line up at. All right, so yesterday I ended up getting the hood roughed in. The hinges are just kind of tack welded in there. They got to be braced and all that. And I learned pretty quickly why most of these other builds you see on YouTube just use hood pins is because they're half-ass people. Tell you why. Now, there's nothing supporting the driver's side hinge right now. I got to box it. But more or less, you're going to have to, you know, move the booster, run, I'd say delete the booster, run like manual style brakes, move the battery. And then, of course, if you got a manual, you're going to have to figure out some way to still run the master cylinder. The cylinder mounts inside the car, so that's not a huge issue. It's just more or less getting a line to it. So it's a little extra work, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, you come out with a nicer car. The hood will function like factory. Pop the hood, I mean, for the most part, it's going to look factory. So I try not to do things half-ass. Even if it's my first time doing something, I still, you know, think about it. And try and make it the nicest I can. And to me, running hood pins in the back and the front is just unacceptable. So let's get on it. Alright, so what I ended up doing is I just went and got a cheap self-leveling laser from Harbor Freight, and I found the center line of the car, and then I took measurements left to right. So more or less, each hinge is measuring 19 1/4 from the center line, and then my fenders measured right at like 20 1/2, something like that. More or less, the moral of the story is, I don't even remember, I didn't write it down. But the moral of the story is, from center line to each side was like spot on. So I just, everything kind of looks okay. And, some of the measurements I could take seemed all right, but I really wanted something to kind of double check that. And I'm going to say, from what I, saw with the laser and kind of measured, I'm happy to go ahead and start welding these hinge supports in here. And any other kind of, movement, it almost seemed like the core support might be like, 3/16 of an inch off one way or another, but that's just where I tacked it the first time I put everything up here, so that's totally fine to be moved around. So it wasn't off much. I mean, even if I left it where it was at, there's probably enough adjustment in these original body panels to do it. I'm just trying to be as accurate with it as I can be for what it is. So yeah, let's get on boxing those in, and hopefully we'll have us a solid mounted hood today, and then I can kind of get started on the back. Okay, again, so what I've done is I went ahead and basically started to box in this upper frame rail section, and my point of reference is the car's level, and I'm zeroing my gauge off the level subframe, and then boom, I have my actual upper frame rail set level, and when I do the side, I'm going to set it at exactly 90 degrees. So my measurements between the two are spot on to what the like parts car measure to, and also I found center with a laser and measured side to side, and it was spot on. So I really don't know another way to double check all this, so I'm just kind of going with what makes sense to me. At the end of the day, if I got to make a little bit of adjustment here or there, it should be all right. But so far, I mean, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. That solidified that bracket up a lot. So what I'm going to do is do the same thing to this side. Then I'm going to take the fenders off so I can box them to the outer frame rail there. Well, I guess the fender support on the S197. And of course, I'll come back and box the inside, and these things will be super sturdy. Okay, so on the passenger side, this is more or less where I got so far. And I actually made this one in 2 pieces. And it just, because it's a little bit different on this side, but more or less, this will get welded to the strut tower, and then it'll get welded, you know, to here. And then I'm gonna come in and I'll finish boxing this. I say finish, I'm probably gonna cut here and then here and make, well, sorry, here to like there and make this more of a squared off piece, and then come in here and build a plate that kind of comes around and like encompasses it, and then it'll be welded to the firewall down here and to the strut tower. And I'm thinking I'm gonna leave this open. I'm definitely gonna leave it open on this side, mainly so you can get in here to access the master cylinder. So I think being more or less boxed on 3 sides, that's how it was originally. I think that'll be plenty, especially this is a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, this is a little bit thicker sheet metal. So, and I may come back and make a couple of adjustments to this side just because I made that piece, and that piece gave me the idea to kind of let that, you know, extend back and kind of contour to the original piece a little bit better. So, and by remaking it, I may just come in here, cut it off, and then make a new top piece and then weld it to the piece I already have. So just for a little bit of uniformity. At the end of the day, the fender is going to cover most of that. So that's fine. I think it'll look real good. It'll be kind of pushed back in the bay, and it gives it, you know, sort of a OEM style look to it, more or less. So, and then I'll come and make fender mounts basically off of here to here. That'll be, you know, hopefully that'll be most of the front end done. It'll just be after that kind of sheet metaling this piece in. And then, yeah, I kind of get started on the back, I think. So most of this is, to me, is going to be the most time consuming. And once it's done, it should be downhill from there. All right, so what I ended up doing is I kind of needed the space over there, and so I was gonna pull out the brake lines, and I just went ahead and stripped the whole engine bay, which I was planning on doing anyways. So I went ahead and got the harness and everything out. And what I'm gonna do now is finish boxing in these pieces. And I do still have to take the cowl out of the car, so what I'm gonna do is come back and basically take this 5/16 self-tapper out, cut that, and more or less I should still be able, well, not should, I'll be able to lift the cowl out of the car, and these will be pretty much fully boxed in, and then it'll just be a matter of coming back and welding these back into like the cowl here. So there for a minute I got scared. I was like, oh shit, I still gotta pull this cowl out, but luckily those have not been like super welded in or anything like that. So I think it's still best to go ahead and, like I said, finish boxing those in. And I still want to retest fit the hood and all that, and from there, once I'm happy with all that, I'll come back and just cut the tacks on this cowl and then work on finishing the sheet metal under there. I got the driver's side pretty much done today, which to me, I think that is the most time, was going to be the most time consuming part. So tomorrow I'm hoping to get this side relatively done, because once they're, that one's pretty well braced up. And I went ahead and got it welded in and seam sealed. And I think the passenger side is going to be a little bit easier, because I more or less had to build a shelf for this side. And I kind of folded it up and then TIG welded along the bottom. And then I more or less like plug welded it there. And I punched holes and kind of plug welded it down here, plug welded it there. Kind of missed my drill point. I was almost just guessing there. And I put one or two little, like little beads on there. And I may do more, but you can kind of see where everything penetrated or whatnot. And this is where normally like your wire and loom for the windshield wipers, the brake reservoir would go, but as you can see, this thing is not going to be able to run stock brakes, stock booster. So I'm thinking I'm just going to go with a manual master cylinder or whatnot. So yeah, once I get this side more well kind of boxed in, I'm going to bolt the hood on and kind of line everything up once more. And I think that'll, well, not I think, but whenever I do that, I should be able to finalize the core support then. Again, I did find center on the car today with a laser. The core support just seemed like it was a tiny bit off, maybe to the right. So I'll get that squared away. I just wanted to get these in solid enough to where when I bolt the hood to it, there's no movement. And I think, I know that'll do it. And when I get this side done, it should be good there. And two, I'm still not fully welded in or anything here. And that's because I do have to remove this cowl again. So I'm going to come in here, pull this, and grind down that little weld there. Pull the cowl and more or less box in what I need to under here. And kind of prime this up. And then when the cowl goes back in, that'll be for the last time. And I also, whenever I did this, I used my angle finder to make sure it was 90 degrees. So more or less, before I started welding anyway, things move a little bit. But whenever I had this, was dead 0, 0 on both sides. Was my angle on that. And then up and down, I had this one set to 90 degrees. And I'm going to set that one to 90 degrees. And the measurement across was 39.5, which is the same as if I measured on the parts car. And also too, when I found center line, I measured from the center line out to the hinges, and I had the same exact. So I feel like we're super square there, and it's just a matter of getting the core support done. So I'll update you guys on that tomorrow when I get on it. So I'm pretty much out of welding gas, and it's Sunday. This one was pretty sturdy the other day, and it didn't even have this top piece on here. So that was the one that was moving. It's more or less welded in. I'm going to go ahead and kind of bolt the front end on here and see what I got. And probably just wait till I get some more gas tomorrow, because I have an engine I need to build for an S197 today. So, but where I'm at now is I think this will be solid enough. I can at least kind of get the hood on there, make some adjustments to it, and see if I can get it pretty close with what I have here. So if I'm being honest, this is way better than I expected. So the other day, and it was probably because that mount over there was moving, the hood seemed like it was kind of sitting to the left and all that. But what I'm seeing right now, there's no shims. I've got 2 bolts and like a zip tie in the fender, 2 little 1/4 inch self tappers holding the cowl. So there's literally no adjustment here. Like nothing's, you know, I haven't fine tuned anything. I think I spent 20 minutes at most putting this front end on. And this is with, you know, however many years old hinges, because these are just hinges I pulled off parts cars. Some of them were C's, some weren't. So like I just mix and matched. The only thing I'm seeing is I may have to shim the hood a tiny bit on this side, but I mean, nonetheless, this is literally factory hinges and the hood lays right down. Again, this fender, it's not even bolted in, it's just kind of hanging there. This one, it has a zip tie holding it, so as you see, you got movement there, but I mean, if you just look up the cowl, I mean, it's just, I don't know if I could have, honestly, like I don't even know what to say. Being this is my first time doing anything like this, I have, you know, installed a roll cage, built suspension arms, that kind of stuff. But as far as body wise, and two, I didn't know how trying to get everything lined up with to have working hinges was going to go. Because I mean, that kind of stuff, I guess I just get over paranoid about stuff and take a lot of measurements. You know, so I bought the laser and just hoped that was enough. And from what I'm seeing, it was. I'm more than happy with this, especially with the limited amount of like metal work and stuff I have. I mean, every little bracket I've made, it's just handmade, hand bent right there on my table. So, and I have enjoyed it. And in the future, I do plan on, as you know, as I can afford to, kind of like what I've done in my shop, is just buy more and more stuff to go that direction. I already have a CNC plasma head for my plasma cutter. It's just a matter of, I didn't want to spend, you know, $1,500 on one of those cheap tables. If I'm gonna get a table, I want to at least get one that I know is gonna last me for, you know, for a while. And if I wanted to do bigger runs with it, I could. So all that's kind of stuff that's planned for the future. I'm more than happy with where this thing's at, and I'm gonna go get on building that motor. Okay, so I have my S550 subframe on the table. I was thinking about making a jig for this, but just with time constraints, I may wait on that. Here's a jig I've built to modify S550 knuckles. Now, of course, I'm going to come back in here and still, that just more or less was to make sure that this pickup point was the same as that. Eventually was going to make like a billet knuckle adapter, but for time and all that, as far as what I want to use the stuff for, this is perfect. So a lot of people that do these, I say a lot of people, but companies that do the angle kits, they do a single lower control arm that picks up this point, which theoretically would move your stock tie rod pickup back. So me, I'm keeping dual arms because there's a lot of benefits to the dual arm suspension. It incorporates like a variable caster. So like the lead wheel gains caster, the trail wheel loses it. Just some stuff in there. There's a lot more than just that, but that's kind of like one of the main benefits I've seen with it. So as far as keeping that, you have to relocate the tie rod pickup point back to, you know, increase steering angle. So I have tested this on a car and it did very well. And I have a S197 that I built the front frame on to put one of these subframes in, but I'm not 99% sure this should just bolt in. So that's what I'm about to try on this 100% stock S197. These just seem to be at like a little bit more of an angle, but we'll find out. Okay, so bad news is the front bolt holes are off. There's the rear hole, and you're not even gonna be able to see the front hole. That's not even the front hole right there. So, but the rear, all these pick up just fine. These pick up fine. I have a S197 that was wrecked in the front that I rebuilt the frame rails from here forward, and I built them basically with the holes aligned with the S550 subframe, and it works fine. I've already figured out how to make the coilovers work and all that. Now just is the question of, is it worth doing all that on this car? I don't know. I mean, on the plus side is I've already have a suspension developed for it. So making, you know, I already have adjustable control arms, all that for this suspension. Whereas for the S197, I don't. So I'd either have to, you know, come up with something or buy something. And two, like at the end of the day, it costs me, you know, hardly anything to modify knuckles and build control arms. So, you know, at the end, this would only really be either, I don't really want to move these holes because I don't know if I'm going to have the room, because you really need like a crush support in there and all that. So I don't know if it's worth, you know, just tubing from here forward. It kind of sucks that I already cut this piece to match those frame rails if I do that. So I'm going to have to do some thinking on this, but I really would like to run the S550 stuff. A, because like I said, I've already developed adjustable suspension, and B, it's a superior setup overall. So, I mean, I'll get back with you guys. I'm going to maybe, you know, go look at my other car and just think about, you know, what's the best way to go about this. So I'll update you. All right, what I'm getting ready to do now is basically swap the S197 top hats onto these S550 BC Racing coilovers. I still have to build another jig for the driver's side knuckle, but here's an already, like I said, already modified passenger side. And I think what I'm maybe thinking about doing, and it's the easiest route to go, is more or less I can use this hole and drill a hole in the subframe, and there's one pickup point, and then I can weld a tab on the back of the subframe and use this pickup point. To be the easiest route for me to use this suspension, and then I'm still using the stock S197 holes in the engine bay, and everything will work out just fine. So that's what I'm going to do with that. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start mocking the suspension up and kind of see where I need my arms set and all that for like tire clearances and stuff. So I'll go ahead and get you guys set up, and we'll get these coils.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right and see life do what you want. So fight and die for the things you know you love. Do what you think is right and see life do what you want. So give me all the scars, I'm a human being. Cover them with tattoos so you can't see. Knew it from the start, you had problems with me and the things I could be, I just wish I had seen. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains.
Okay, so more or less, I got the passenger side in, and you can tell there's a whole lot more caster than there was before. So, which too, I think it needs a little bit less to center the wheel, but that's fine. And so, like for the people who's not super familiar with the S550 stuff, more or less, you have two control arms. The front one is responsible for adjusting your caster, and then the lower one, it more or less will adjust track width, and add camber, stuff like that. Now these are still set up the length like they were on when I took it on the drift car or whatnot, and these are a set of cut knuckles, so the car has a whole lot more steering angle than like a stockish Mustang, and it'll do more than that. But this is a 20 with like a 40 sidewall, and it's a 275, so But more or less, that's how the S550 stuff works. And again, the main reason I was kind of thinking about going this route is because I've already figured out the geometry and everything for these arms. They work really well. And I was thinking about just running like a stock knuckle here, so it wouldn't have all that crazy turning radius, just for, you know, the purpose of this car anyway. But I'll lower it down and we'll get a look at what it looks like sitting on. Sucked it in a little bit, and I think I can get away with less camber and still make this wheel fit in the front. And I mean, this is a 275. It's actually a 35 sidewall, so, and it's a 20. So I'm pretty happy with it, and kind of going with the adjustable suspension. It opens up, as far as A, performance-wise, and B, just adjustability. Like, it's hands down, it's super nice to have. So yeah, we'll leave on this note. Thanks for watching. See you next time.